Hello, everyone. My name is Samra, and I'm here today to give you a non technical introduction to blockchain. But before beginning, a bit about myself. I am a graduate of Norwegian School of Economics. Previously, I was a research engineer at Novon, and at the moment, I'm the co founder of Octopus Labs, which is a venture within Xord, looking to develop products in the DeFi and NFT space. Before we begin, today I'll be talking about blockchain, but I will do that using the guiding principles of economics, so that we can see how what is changing as we start using this technology. And I think it's important to do that because, as Ralph Emerson said, the man who grasps principles can successfully select his own methods, but the man who tries methods ignoring principles is sure to have trouble. So we'll be looking at blockchain from the economic exchange perspective before delving deeper into what the technology is all about. Um, and the history of, if we talk about the history of economic exchange, it starts way back in our history when the humanity started living in small groups. And in those days, we used to trade on a one-to-one basis, and it was easier to do that because we lived in close-knitted communities, and everybody knew each other. So trading on a one-to-one basis was much more easier than it is today. But as we expanded our trade routes and we started doing transactions across regions, this one-to-one transaction couldn't work, because in case of global expansion, for example, nobody knows each other. Nobody knows the other person they are exchanging with. So in order to end this uncertainty and to embed trust within our economic system, we built various institutions such as banks, governments, corporations. And what these institutions basically did was, they lowered the uncertainty and they embedded trust in our system. So yes, we built these institutions, and they acted as middlemen for us. And what they did was they acted as guarantors and validators of transactions and ownership within our economic system. And with the advent of internet, eventually we took all these institutions and these middlemen online, and we built platforms such as Alibaba, Amazon, eBay, basically middlemen, online digital middlemen, to facilitate our economic transactions. And now with blockchain, we are what we are seeing is a natural evolution of this process. And with blockchain, we are able to expand our trades, but do so through with the technology rather than uh, through institutions and middlemen. So basically, this is what a blockchain essentially is. It allows us to transact on a one-to-one basis, just like we did in our earlier agrarian days, but without the need of any middlemen. And instead, those middlemen are replaced by a technology. And this is the most fascinating or revolutionary aspect of blockchain, because it now allows any individual on the planet to interact with any other individual across the globe without the need of a middleman. So, in order to understand blockchain, I mean, I know there are a lot of buzzwords such as cryptocurrencies attached to blockchain, but blockchain is more than that. And in order to understand what blockchain essentially is, I would like you to imagine it as a ledger book. Just like a ledger book contains a record of data, a record of asset ownership and transactions. Similarly, blockchain, you can also say, is a record of who owns what and what transactions have been taking place. And just like a page within the ledger book contains a list of transactions, similarly a block contains a list of transactions in the blockchain. And similarly, and just like all the pages of blockchains, all the pages of a ledger book are binded together to form one ledger. Similarly, all the blocks are chained together to form a blockchain. And this is what essentially a blockchain is: a database of transactions and ownership data, that is. So a block about now that we've learned about blockchain, it is very essential to discuss what utility it can serve within our current systems. So two of the most important use cases that we'll be discussing today relate to DeFi, that is decentralized financial services, and NFTs, which are non-fungible token. We'll discuss them both. Now, if we talk about decentralized finance and how blockchain can change that, I think it is very important for us to understand what are the current issues with the existing financial systems. So, within the existing financial systems, some of the issues that I've highlighted here are the first one, intermediaries and transaction costs. So at the moment, you can imagine a situation that whenever you send money from abroad to your home, or to any other individual as such, there are a lot of costs in between, because there are a lot of middlemen in between. For example, the money will come from your bank to some other, you can say, payment provider such as Visa, and then from Visa to someone else's bank. So all these middlemen are charging some kind of cost, and which makes your transaction very, very costly. So this is one of the issues with the current financial system. Then the second issue with is the lack of interoperability. What this means is that the current systems or the current organizations are working in silos. They are not interconnected with each other. So just to give you an example, you can say that you can just imagine a situation that how difficult it is to move your account from one bank to the other bank. And there are a lot of barriers within that process. So this is what lack of interoperability is. Then concentration of risk. What this means is that because most of these institutions are centralized in nature, they have their data and records managed on a centralized server, and which means that if their security is compromised, your monetary assets are also compromised. Lack of transparency is another issue. You don't know how your funds are being invested or managed by the institutions. There is no, you can say, there's no record in which you can see how much profits are the bank making over the deposits that you have made. So there is a lack of transparency there, and lack of access as well. What I mean by this is that not I mean, a lot of people still don't have access to basic financial services such as even a bank account in our current system. So, for example, World Bank estimates that at least 1.7 billion billion population of the world is still unbanked. That is, they don't have access to any banking service at the moment. So. Let's see now what is DeFi and how it can help to solve these problems. So, so DeFi is basically rebuilding the financial systems with the accessible autonomous software replacing intermediaries. Basically, a software that replaces these middlemen such as banks and other financial institutions. And but how? But what do we mean by this autonomous software? So this autonomous software is essentially smart contracts, and smart contracts are very similar to normal contracts that we deal with in our daily lives. But the distinction factor is that they are digital in nature, and they can automatically enforce themselves if certain conditions are met. So they are very much automated. And plus, on top of that, because every transaction within a smart contracts is recorded on blockchain, they inherit the properties of blockchain, which makes them immutable, transparent, and distributed. So whenever we talk about decentralized applications within finance or any other sector, what we means is that a DApp is basically a combination of various smart contracts working together. Now, now that we've discussed what DeFi with blockchain is all about, let's see what Naval Ravikant, which is one of a serial entrepreneur has to say about smart contracts. So he says that a firm is just a nexus of contracts, payroll contracts with employees, profit contracts with shareholders, debt contracts with lenders, delivery contracts with customers, tax contracts with the state. So blockchain based smart contracts will eventually reinvent the firm, and I hope this can make you realize that how important a blockchain could be in the future. So now that we've talked about how a dApp within DeFi is built, let's see what different applications actually do exist at this point in time. So there are different types of dApps and protocols operating within the DeFi space at the moment. So firstly, there are cryptocurrencies and stable coins. So cryptocurrencies are assets that are volatile in nature, such as BTC, ETH, etc. And stable coins are coins that are pegged to a currency in the real world, such as USD. So DAI is an example of of a stable coin which maintains its peg to USD, which means that one DAI is equal to one USD. Then we have different lending and borrowing applications as well. So traditionally, when it comes to lending and borrowing, the process is very tedious. You have to go to a bank, present a lot of documents before your loan is approved. But in the DeFi space, you simply go to a platform such as Compound or Aave, and just you can see what are the lending terms there, what are the interest rates that you have to pay for, and you simply connect your wallet and you can lend or borrow money from there. And then we have decentralized exchanges. So what makes the decentralized exchanges different from centralized exchanges is that whenever you trade essentially on a one-to-one basis, on a peer-to-peer basis, rather than your funds being held at a certain centralized server. So this is what makes them much more safer. And then we have wallets. Wallets are possibly one of the most important applications within the DeFi space, because they are your gateway to all the protocols that exist within DeFi. And some of the popular wallets are MetaMask and Argent. Now the thing that make these dApps and protocols very again essentially very different and unique and revolutionary compared to the current financial services is that they are all interoperable and composable. What I mean by this is that because they all of these systems are working on code and working via smart contracts, they can all easily interact with each other, and we can even use different platforms and build something on top of that. So you can think of them as pieces of Legos. Just like you can use different pieces of Legos to build something, you can use all these platforms to build something on top. So here is an graphical representation of what I mean. So you can see that at the bottom level we have the Ethereum layer. Then on top of that we have a monetary asset like DAI, on which there are decentralized exchanges such as Curve and SushiSwap. And on top of that, there is another application which is a market prediction app called Augur. So this is what I mean by composability and interoperability. um, Now this one of another important application within a blockchain is NFTs, which is also getting a lot of hype these days. So let's discuss that. So NFTs, first let's discuss what NFTs are. So NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and that means is that they each NFT token is unique in its own way. So just like fungible tokens are examples of fungible tokens are BTC, ETH. Basically, you can't differentiate one BTC from another BTC. But with NFTs, there is only one unique NFT, and there is none like it. So this is the a special thing about NFTs. So because of their the property that they have in relation to uniqueness and University. They have found their application within art and music, because each piece of art or each piece of music is unique. So obviously NFTs are being applied there, and there is a lot of work being generated and sold as NFTs in the current markets. Then another popular use case of NFTs is collectibles. Collectibles is different from the traditional art in the sense that these uh, these art pieces are generated by computer. So basically using some Python or machine learning code, you generate a collection where each piece is unique, and then you sell it on different markets. Now collectibles and art and music, you can say, you could this the question to be asked is, was what is their utility? Yes, there is this artistic utility that people like to hold on to pieces of art, but then again, but there is another utility which is in the metaverse. I'm sure you all of you have heard of this word. Basically metaverse will be an extension of our real world, and we will be able to do almost anything that we do in the real world in the metaverse as well. So these NFTs will play a very important role in terms of branding, gaming, and all these activities in the metaverse. And finally, the last, you can say, frontier for NFTs would be off-chain assets, where you will probably see off-chain assets such as real estate property also being sold on blockchain as NFTs. So this was a bit about NFTs, and just to give you an example, how much of you can say trade or how much valuation these NFTs are getting these days. Here is a list of top 10 NFT sales in the month of October, and you can see that there was this one NFT board ape which was sold for $2.68 million, and there is this CryptoPunk that was sold for $1.02 million. So they are finding their own space within the financial services, and they are coming up as a very emerging asset class that people are looking to invest in. So this was a bit about the NFTs, and in the end, I would like to say that blockchain is a very exciting space, and it really promises to change the world as we know it. And it is being considered as a paradigm shifter. So to be able to work in this space is a chance to contribute to making the world better, and to create a more equitable world where wealth is redistributed equally. So I think in that way, it is very important for people to contribute towards this revolution, and play their part in making the world a better place with blockchain. Thank you so much.